Hey everyone, my name is Dante. Welcome to Explain 12. Welcome to the 777 and welcome on board this flight today. We're currently sat on the ground at Dublin Airport. We're going to take this bird down to London Heathrow. So this is a tutorial and I'm going to try and go as in-depth as possible. I did an A320 tutorial quite recently and I thought it was very mediocre at best. So I wanted to give this a go with the 777. Teach you guys how to use it. Teach you the quirks, things you could do with it. This is a very good aircraft. Now, one thing that you may notice here, if you've just nearly knocked my cup of coffee over, if you know the Flightfactor 777, we've got a new engine. Rolls-Royce engines are now out and they sound absolutely phenomenal, just like the real aircraft. I love the Trent 800s. I think they are the Trent 800s on the 777. If I'm correct. If I am wrong, well then, yeah. But no, I definitely do love them. They're my favourite variant. I know the G90 fans are going to absolutely crucify me for saying that, but that's just how it is. So we're going to enter into the flight deck, completely cold and dark. We'll connect the jet bridge up. I have a command for that, it's Control J, and that should connect the jet bridge up to the forward left-hand door. Usually you'd have a flight plan by now. We've got the door opened, and you can hear the GPU, it's absolutely loud. I'm going back in the flight deck. Okie doke, that's wonderful from us, right? So again, we're completely cold and dark, and we're going to go through the startup procedure of this aircraft. Now, the 777 is a very automated compared to, let's say, the Boeing 737, which, you know, a lot of pilots actually do that transition from the 737 to the 777. It's a much different aircraft in the sense that a lot of things are more Airbusy, but as well as it's just a very modern aircraft. Even the 200 is incredibly modern. So we'll head upstairs, as we call it, the overhead panel. I've got a key binding set to this, and what we want to do is I'm going to turn the sim sounds down. Actually, in fact, it should be okay. So this is our floor. So we usually go left. We start with this panel here. So this is your electric. I've accidentally touched the trim wheel there on my joystick. This is your electrical panel here. Electrical. You just work your way down. So battery. You now have battery power. Now, none of the systems have booted up. The 777 requires a lot of electrical power. That's why it's also got 2 external powers. We'll do one on the primary and we'll do the secondary. The system should wear to life. As we now have external power, we immediately head over to the lights, which are over this side. Well, all your lights are here in the overhead panel. We'll turn on our nav lights. This is to let the ground crew know that, hey, there is someone in the flight deck right now. You know, just be aware of that. We'll head up to the Adiru. We'll turn that on. That's your IRS. That's it. You don't have to put it into a line or nav. That's it. Emergency exit lights to on. Now, cabin utility and IV passenger seats on. And we can also turn these on. The one quirk about 777 is everything you need to turn on will be orange. If it's off, it's orange. If it doesn't need touching, it's off. That's how simple this aircraft is. So what we'll do is we'll leave the no electronics off. We don't have a no smoking sign, which is unusually modern. And what we'll do now is you've got to let the systems kick into life. So the 777, it needs time to warm up. It needs time to turn on. So while them systems turn on, I'm actually going to put my flight plan into SimBrief. If you're not familiar with how to do that, there is a tutorial. There's multiple tutorials. It's very, very user friendly. But I'm just going to plonk my route in. So systems are alive. So I'm currently fighting a cold right now, that's why I sound like this. So now we've got systems, the systems are alive. I'm going to continue making up my route. We can actually, what we'll do is we'll head over to here. Now, oh, there's a bit of glare. Let me just add a sunshade. Over here is your EF. Where's all that? It's coming from the front, isn't it? Where's all that light coming from? Is it coming from this side? That's really weird. Okay, we're just gonna have to deal with the glare. It's coming from a really weird angle. But that does work in Sim as well. So what we do is, this is your EFB. Before you config, you can go through the simulation. I have my cabin configuration like this: 3 class, first class, 10 business class rolls, and 13 economy class rolls, 224. It roughly equates to kind of like the cabin layout of this aircraft in real life. Yankee Mike Lima. But at the time, for the time being, we're just waiting for our systems to come online. I'm still planning my flight plan, and that's all planned. Reason being is that I need to use my SimBrief to be able to access my route. But what we'll do is we'll turn on our radio. So you just press again this button here, on, and I can't really see it there, but if you head over to it, there is a button there. We've got our flight plan loaded. We've got flight time 54 minutes and cruising at 35,000 feet. Cool. We can now head over to our EFB. If we press menu, we go to external services, Navigraph services, put in your SimBrief username. Obviously it's blurred, it's your number from SimBrief. Get data from SimBrief, and voila. There you go. There's our flight details. We shall now head over to we'll do all that later, but we'll head over to we'll make contact with the ground crew. So what you do is you've got this radio panel here, your trim, primary radios, you got this one here, which you can decide which one you want to key up, right? So we'll call the ground. So cabin interphone is the button we press. Ground crew, we want to get into contact with them as early as possible.
Hi, this is the captain. Hope you are all doing well today.
Good to hear you, sir. The ground personnel is at your service.
We don't need them, so we'll just tell them bye-bye.
Good day. How do you hear?
We are all here and ready.
So again, we'll just get into contact with them. That allows us to call them really, really quickly in the future. Now, I'm going to do simplified loading just for ease of this tutorial. So again, you press menu, go to simplified, well, initialize flight actually. Let's initialize the flight. Simplified loading, which is here. Fill from SimBrief and load the airplane.
Note the load sheet.
Now the airplane is loaded, we'll head over to our FMC. Just check your nav data is in date, which mine is. pausing it, and we're currently at Dublin, which is Echo India Delta Whiskey. Putting in the gate, I don't think it works, so we just use our GPS position for now. We just click that and that copies it into the bottom scratch pad, and then we just set inertial position there. We go to route and we can punch in our route. Now my route is I've planned it on SimBrief, so this is my route. Your route will more likely be different. So we'll do, the origin is Dublin, destination is London Heathrow. Our flight number is Speedbird 8 X-ray. We are a Speedbird call sign because we're an international flight, even though we land at a domestic stand. Confusing one, I know. Okay, so we do all that. Now let's actually do our route. So we go route, next page, and now there's two ways you can do this. You can put in your SID first, then you can put your SID first, your route, then your star, or you can put in your route first and then put your SIDs in afterwards. So this is what I'm going to do, the second option. So our first waypoint is Pessit, then we go direct to BAKUR, Bakur, Gub G, so Golf Uniform Bravo, Juliet Echo. So these are what's called your waypoints, all your fixes, and you just punch them in the right hand side. Make sure these are correct, because a typo and you could have a waypoint that is on the other side of the planet, and it looks like I don't have a single airway that I'm actually on for the time being. I do. So INVEC, next is Jet Z. After Jet Z we have Ample. After Ample, Octis. After Octis we've got an airway. So if you notice in your waypoint there's some numbers, there's probably an airway, unless of course it's at the end, which is a SID, not a star, sorry. So we've got an airway, which is Papa 2. That will take us all the way to Zurich. That's our route. We can actually go to here, departure arrival index. Now we can actually put in our route, our departure. So as of right now, 28 right is in use for departures for Dublin, and we're using, since we're going to Pessit, we'll find Pessit to Juliet. Our arrival into Heathrow today will be the Zurich 1 Hotel on 27 right. And we're gonna, this is kind of where you need your charts for this, because it can get a bit confusing, especially if you don't know where your transition is. But for this star, it is Ockham. As we're approaching, the best rule of thumb is with London, if I just get rid of that, with London, if you are coming from the south west, you will expect Ockham. Northwest is Bovingdon, this one here. Southwest, the southeast, sorry, is Biggin, and northeast is Lambourne. So we're using Ockham as our transition. We'll now check our legs page, and we'll just scroll through, make sure there's no discontinuities. Ockham there, and there's a discontinuity here. We can sort that out. Wonderful. Now before I continue, with London Heathrow, you just check your charts, make sure there's no holds at the end of your charts. If not, feel free to just continue direct to the runway, but or use Chartfox for an alternative website if you're playing online. But if you fly solo, you don't really need to. For the sake of realism, I'm going to be using a hold. So you hold at Ockham, which is here. So I'll check now. The hold instructions for Ockham is Inbound course is 328. We'll just find Ockham at the minute. Ockham, hold out. So the inbound course is 328. So inbound course here, 328. The direction is a right hand turn. So we could just put 328. If we wanted to change this to a left, we just put /L. But we're doing a right hand turn, so we're doing /right. 220 at 7,000 feet. Now we can activate. I'm not going to exit. In fact, we're going to execute. Correction. Now we're just going to step through on our plan and just make sure that our route just looks decent, if that makes sense. So just zoom out. Let's take off right and turn left there. That's fine. Just zoom out a bit so you can just see the route. It doesn't. There's no like massive jump offs or anything, and you don't end up 5,000 miles because you typed in the wrong waypoint. And then there's arrival into Heathrow. So what will likely happen, what you would do in real life, is if it's not busy, you could actually be vectored straight onto the runway. If it's just kind of busy, you'll do this. You'll fly in towards Ockham. You'll then make a right hand turn and kind of fly this kind of approach. So you'll fly overhead, right hand turn, and that kind of approach. Usually you'll be given vectors to the runway when it's clear to do so. This routing here is actually if there is a loss of radio comms. Now this here, time to align, this is because our IRS hasn't aligned yet. So we just need time for that to align. Our DIRI is not aligned, correction. So during this time I'm going to punch in my next, which is my next data, which is my perf data, right? So init ref takes you straight to it. If you head over to here, we're going to use our load sheet here. Now if we look at it here, so we've got 0 fuel weight, which is 169,770. Round it up. You want to be heavier on the weights. You want to predict that you've got a heavier 0 fuel weight. Round down with 0. Always round up with 0 fuel weight. Why? Because it's best to be conservative, so you're predicting more fuel burn than normal rather than less fuel burn. So 0 fuel weight will be 170, right? Because 169.7, no, 169, it will go 1698 because you was round to round this one up here. So 169. If you also do this 77, it should automatically round that one up to 1678. So you can also do that as well. As for your reserves, you have to go to your OFP for that. To which mine, if I can find actually my OFP. Could be. It's not the sim brief one. Okay, not to worry. Well, my reserves is 3.65. I'm gonna go 3.7 again, lighter on the reserves. Now our cruise altitude is flight level 350 today. This is quite a high altitude. Our cost index standard with British Airways is 57. Well, on the 777 it's 57. That's all sorted. Now if you haven't already got SimBrief up, this is where you do your performance calculation. You can do performance on this aircraft and it's quite accurate. You want to pick the Flightfactor profile. There is one there that is that SimBrief do have. Anyways, we're going to use our gross weight, not our estimated takeoff weight. I always use my gross weight. Most airlines use takeoff weight, but I like to be, again, conservative. This is because oh, yeah, there we go. Yeah, I noticed a discrepancy there. That's why it's always good to cross-reference your load sheet. So I just cross-reference. I went to my sim brief. Again, the weights are quite accurate there. I'm like, hold on, I've got a discrepancy. There was a discrepancy. But now we've got proper weight. I'm going to put in 185, 800. Now, out of here, normally you would use November 2, intersection, which if I show you, if I go to here, airport map, normally you would use this intersection here. I am not going to, just because that means I've got to punch in numbers that I have, but some of you may not have access to. So I'm weighing it up. I might just do it as you usually would at Dublin anyways, unless you are ridiculous, unless it's either ridiculously busy and you need 2 aircraft on a runway at once, one to take off and then one to follow behind, or you're stupidly heavy. I mean, the runway is 3.1 kilometers and I'm in a 777. I'm going to use November 2. I changed my mind, so I'm gonna plan for that intersection. So I'm just going to get the runway length. If you do not have access to charts, I just recommend using full length. And in America, some runways don't even tell you how long your intersection departure is. So I always recommend full length if you do not have any data. So we should have 2641 as our distance in meters. So flaps. So this is our thrust limitations now. We're gonna go flaps. We'll do our temp first. So we're gonna do our D rate. Now, sim brief. I'm gonna sneeze. Give me one moment. You may have saw the rudder pedals just slightly deflect there. That was me. So flaps. Sorry, correction. D rate. So you got 10% off the thrust or 20%. Because we are so light, we're gonna go 20%. We're also gonna set We're also gonna set 54 degrees. This means, however, our takeoff performance is going to be, our climb performance is going to be horrid. I'm going to show you how to get around that, because unfortunately for the Flightfactor, the VNAV doesn't work properly, but again, we can work around it, and they are working on it as well. The Flightfactor team are doing incredible. I love flying their aircraft, so they're doing a great job of this aircraft so far. The VNAV is work in progress. Anyways, flaps 5. Now on the 777 you can go all the way up to flaps fit 20. If I just show you here, you have, it's very bright, so you've got 1, 5, 15, 20. You wouldn't use flaps 1 for takeoff, you just wouldn't. It's an approach, it's just a slats basically. Flaps 5 is your standard. Flaps 15 and 20 is if you've got short runway or heavy or very hot. Flaps 5, our centre of gravity, we go to simplified loading, is here, 30.2. That gives us a trim of 3.75. We'll look at that later. Now for our takeoff speeds. Cross-referencing with the sim brief, my takeoff speeds here, aside from V2, are lower than in my sim brief. Be conservative. If your sim brief is giving you higher, just go slightly higher. V1, however, I'm going to keep at 118. Why? You don't want to be conservative with V1. If you've not got enough runway to stop, you've not got enough runway to stop. V rotate is 133. 133 will be my rotate, and V2 will be 140. We'll punch this up here now. Oh, our IRSs have aligned. So we'll set 140 here. That's all we need for the time being. Now we'll go to our airport charts. So our runway heading at the moment, well, I say at the moment, it's not going to change. Our runway heading is 277. Our initial SID stop altitude, oh, we're getting a call from our purser.
I would like to remind you, the no smoking sign is off.
We don't have a no
selector switch.
Oh, we don't have a no smoking sign. Maybe Definitely a bit of a bug there, but well, it's not really a bug, it's more of an oversight than a bug, really. So they just told us off, but not to worry. Anyways, runway QDM, I think it's 277, and initial to stop altitude is 9,000, or flight level 090. If you don't have access to charts, you can just go to your other FMC and just go to your legs page, and it will just tell you flight level 090 or below there as well. So as that, your runway heading is there for you. So that's all done there. We'll turn on our flight directors, and we'll turn on our auto. We will arm our auto throttle, correction. We don't want our auto throttle on. And we will turn on our LNAV and our VNAV. We'll go over to here now. We want to get the local weather punched in. So the local QNH here is 1020. So set you over to hectopascals and 1020. Could also switch you back over to map as well. Zoom you back in. And now what we'll do is going to set our minimum flat retraction altitude. This is just because in the event of an engine out situation, you don't want to retract your flaps too early to reduce the risk of a stall. So we want 1,000 feet above the ground is our minimum flat retraction altitude. So the airport field elevation, you can use that as a reference, but it's 243 here. So that's the average field elevation. So our elevation at these, where we are at the minute, is 202. However, we got the average 243, right? So we're going to set 1243 on this side here. Now again, this is very user friendly. Look how quick we can set the barrow. There's some aircraft that I spend minutes doing it on. Flightfactor have done a great job of making this a bit more user friendly. So 1020 set on this one as well. No, 1243. Barrow ref is 102.43 set and cross checked. Is there anything else that needs to be done that I'm thinking of just for the time being? I'm just thinking something may have slipped my mind. I doubt it, but it's always best to be cautious. That's it. Dublin Airport requires a noise abatement, so acceleration altitude of 3,000 feet. Next page. So we want to set that to 3,000 feet. Now, again, so 777 likes to reduce thrust at 1,000 feet. That's just standard. So 1,000 feet climb reduction, acceleration at 3,000. So we may not have a problem with maintaining our speed just yet. Since we have refueled, we'll turn our seatbelt signs on. I'm going to get my panel lights on as well, so it's just this one here, this one underneath, it's the outside one, and this one here, and this one here. For our transponder code, it's the bottom one. The bottom one represents the outside numbers, and the top one represents the inside numbers in them two brackets, if that makes sense. We're gonna go 2,000 standard because we're not got any air traffic control. We'll keep you there. We'll get our hydraulics set up. So we'll get our hydraulic paddle set up now. So we'll do is get EP1 as well. Now this is the order. So this is the order, but it really, if you're just flying without failures or anything, this really doesn't matter. But this is the general order: C2, C1, C1, C2. So do that, that, and then these two and these two. It's confusing, so you can also just flick them all into auto, turn them all on, but I'm just going to teach you, I'm just going to do it the proper way. So we're going to again just follow my lead. So C2, so air C2, electronic C1, air C1, electronic C2, electronic, right electronic on, left engine on, left electronic on, right engine on. That's your order. Same time we'll get our fuel pumps on. Turn the APU gen because our APU's up. We'll head up here. Humidifier gas burner, recirculation fans on. Packs, trim air and packs on. Leader to auto, APU auto. Again, you don't need to touch anything. I'll turn my logo lights on as well. So we've got now essentially our packs are all sorted. Aircraft is pretty much almost good to go, but we need to set our trim. So now we've got this, now we've got hydraulic power, we can do our trim. So 375, which is literally one notch up. That's it. It's quick. You can also use this as well to set your trim. But I'm going to use it on my here. Since we've got pretty much everything sorted, what I'm going to do is get all the doors closed up, trucks removed, ground power removed, and we'll get ready to push and start. So first things first is we want to contact the ground crew.
I am here.
So we're going to request removal of GPUs.
How can I help you?
2.
Please disconnect the primary ground.
We'll go to doors.
Sure.
Close forward. Close aft.
Any other requests?
Up.
Anything
Close
else?
access.
Roger.
We're going a bit too
Listening?
fast for it, but remove the chocks. Remove the
Listening?
ground power.
Please disconnect the shocks.
Sure. Oh, any
If
other
that-
requests?
If that looks like a bit much, you can also do this. Here, menu, airplane, ground service, GPUs there, chocks are there, and then for the doors, access, door 4 left, and access doors there, cargo's there. I want to get the crew to close all the doors
Please
now.
close this door.
Undoubtedly.
I'm also going to request pushback.
Hey, Captain, let me know where you want this thing.
It's like I've not flown from this stand before, because otherwise I'd have a pushback preset. How you decide to push back is your choice. Well, air traffic control's choice. If you fly without air traffic control, usually your safest bet is to just push onto the taxiway. You could also, if it's a bit much work, you can also decide to, hey, I'm going to push facing this direction and just cause chaos. Well, just do a little loop there. We're going to do the safe option. You could also, actually, no, you've got this option. You can push back into, especially if there's an empty stand behind, you can push back and then just do a little pull forward. We're going to do the more conventional method, which is just push back to around about here.
Great news, Captain. Your tow's coming.
Now, we'll run through our checklist now, so we'll do a oxygen test. And then we can do our before start checklist.
Pre-flight checklist.
Oxygen. Tested 100%.
Tested 100%.
Flight instruments.
Flight instruments anyway, so heading is 277, altimeter 1020, that's checked.
Set.
Checklist complete.
Parking brake set, fuel control switches are in cut off. Press normal to get the
Before
next checklist
start,
up.
Checklist, please.
Flight deck door. Locked.
Oh, we need to get this sorted now. We need to get this configured for takeoff. So, flight
MCP.
auto, and beacon light on. So,
All right. Looks like the doors and hatches are closed and we're ready to connect.
Again, MCP, V2, 140, 277 is our heading, 9,000 Fleet is our altitude.
Set. Takeoff speeds.
118 is V1, 133 V rotate, and 140 V2.
Set. CDU pre-flight. Completed.
Completed on my side.
Completed.
Trim.
Trim set 375 units, set cross-checked.
Set.
Taxi and takeoff briefing. Completed.
Now, for this, I haven't really done a briefing, but you can just look on here. Essentially, we're going to taxi up Foxtrot 3, Foxtrot 0, November 2. Yeah, completed.
Welcome aboard,
Completed.
Captain. Show's
Checklist
connected.
complete.
Bypass pins inserted. Go ahead and kill the parking brake when you're ready to go.
Before we do that, we need to get rid of our jet bridge. We then need to just get rid of the ground crew, so airplane, ground service, no, not that, sorry, captain's commands, ground crew.
All personnel, please clear the area.
All clear, sir.
Ground contact will cease.
Yes, sir.
We are ready to start. Are you?
On it, sir.
Thank you.
See you.
Okay, so they've gone. Purser. Doors to automatic.
What can I do for you?
Doors to automatic.
All armed.
Can kill our parking brake.
Here comes the pushback. Light them up.
Press that just to move that there. And we'll set our block timer now. We'll set you over to engine. Drop you into RTO. And then this is the engine start procedure on a 777. Start. Fuel on. I enjoy the sounds. That's a good engine start on engine number 2. The reason why I prefer the Trent to the G90s is the howl that they make. For me, it sounds more 90s, which is my favourite era. It sounds like very similar to CF6 engines as well, which are one of my favourite engines. Well, CF6 was on the 767 anyways, especially when spooling up. And again, it's just the hull. You gotta think these are modified RB211, which everybody loves. Anyways, we've got 2 good engine starts.
Just about done here. Go ahead and set your parking brake.
Parking brake on.
And we're disconnecting the tow. Give me just a moment.
Right. APU off. Engine anti-ice. Engine wing anti-ice to auto. That's it. You don't need to touch them again. That's the one thing about triple. You don't need to worry about your icing. We'll get the person to prepare the cabin for takeoff.
Listening.
Prepare cabin. We are taking off.
Of course, sir.
Engine. No, turn our checklist on.
Taxi checklist.
Recall. Check.
So we'll do a quick recall.
Check.
Take this off.
Flight controls. Check.
Check the flight controls after
Checked.
the fact.
Ground equipment. Cleared.
Cleared.
Checklist complete.
I'll do 2 sets of flight control checks. Okay, so we'll do one from here, we'll do one from the wing.
And
so
we're disconnected. Signal and pin on the left. Take it easy and have a safe flight.
I'll do a quick flaps actually, flaps down, so flight controls now, so we'll start on my side, so do full left, full right first. So full left, neutral, full right, neutral, full forward, neutral, full back, neutral, rudder, full left, neutral, full right, neutral. I'll do a quick one from different views as well. The rudder first. The flight control's done. Usually pilot monitoring will guide you, so I'll have to guide myself. So, taxi straight, second right onto Foxtrot 2, left onto Foxtrot outer, time being. Get rid of our, we'll blank the DU as well, so do that. Turn offs and taxi lights can come on. We'll release our parking brake. Are you moving under our own power? We are. This does also say use min power, so we'll just try and keep the aircraft moving under its own power. Quick brake check as well. Make a right hand turn. So we're going to wait for our reference point, which is round about when it goes through where your eyes are. So when that yellow line goes to about eye level, that's your reference point, I'd say. Nice and easy on the turn. Just line yourself back up with the taxiway. Here we go, nice and easy. I'm going to follow, when this merges, we're going to make a left and right turn. To Foxtrot outer. So link 3 is there. We're going to make a left on turn here. Again, we're just going to wait until that. We're going to look to the left. Apply a tad bit of braking as well. It's a bit late on the turn there, but that's alright. We can just a bit more rudder. And then be right here. Again, nice and slow on the taxi. I'm going to keep your, especially when it's a bit busy like this. If it's more straight, you can use a bit more power. just to get up to speed. But at speeds like this, you don't really want to be using too much. When we get onto taxiway November, we will add a bit of power just to get up to about 20 knots. So is that November there? That is November. So we're just going to apply some braking now because we need to get to about 10 knots. We commence this turn. There we go, there's our turn reference point. Remember, if you ever feel like you're just undershooting or overshooting, if you're undershooting, just add a bit more rudder, but a bit more turn. If you're undershooting, if you're overshooting, just take it off a bit. If you're undershooting, sorry. If you're undershooting, take it off. If you're overshooting, just add a bit more. That's why I always go gentle on the rudder. Right, we'll add a bit of, just a bit of spool now, just go to about 20 knots. So we're only gonna spool them up for a little bit because the engines still have to spool down. They're still gonna be providing thrust while they're spooling down. Anyways, we're gonna make this left here. That's our intersection. We'll do before takeoff checklist below the line.
Checklist, please.
Flaps
Checklist
5.
complete.
We're gonna hold at November 2 just for time being. So again, nice, gentle on the brakes, get us down to about 10 knots. This is with not cut 2 or 3, we can hold a bit earlier. Just going to make sure we're stopped below the stop bar. Okay, so before we take off, we want to make sure turn off our APU generator. Now that should be powered down. We'll do a quick recall. TCAS is off, that's fine. Everything looks all good to go. So we're about to enter an active runway. We'll say they've given us instructions to line up a rate, so strobe lights on. TCAS to TARA or TARA, and weather radar UXT. The radar, we'll set this about plus $5. Okay, and maybe it would help if I used the right one. That's minus. That's 15, that's 2i. Anyways, parking brake off. Spool up just to get on the runway a bit quicker.
Two, right.
There's our little runway entry. Okay. Say 220, wings 220, 7 clear to take off. So landing lights can come on. And we are all good to go. So we're going to hold our brakes now. That's preferential. Nose down. We have a slight wind to the left. So I'll get rid of my brakes now. Ease power up to around about 40% on the M1. And we're stable. So take off thrust. So I'm anticipating right rudder. 80 knots.
V1.
How's the thrust
500
lever?
feet remaining.
Take. Nice and gentle.
3,000 feet remaining.
Up to 20 degrees, positive weight, gear up. Just gonna trim those up. Just keep it on the flight directors. Because you can't use autopilot on a Boeing aircraft until, well, until your aircraft is level. So our level is in like wings level. Just gonna add more autopilot in just a bit early, just to reduce my workload. This is what I mean by it. The airplane will absolutely climb like a slug. Like, it is sluggish when you use climb thrust too. It says 3,000. We need to be above 4,000, which we will be. That's fine before we make this left-hand turn. Thousand feet per minute. Reason being is I want to be able to accelerate nicely. Anyways, flaps 1. So flaps 1, keep it at 1,000 feet per minute. It's going to be tight, but we will make. We just made that restriction. As you can now set flight level 05. This is going to cost flight level 050. Speed up to 250 and starts up. And we'll now prepare VNAV. It should pitch up now, anticipating the reduction in thrust. No, the speeds will. We need to reduce our speed so it will anticipate just a climb. Delta Whiskey 1 to 2. We need to be up below flight level 090. $3,000 to go. Since we're a clean config, landing lights can come off, turn offs can come off, taxi light can come off. Do it after takeoff checklist.
Checklist, please.
Checklist complete.
Wonderful. There isn't really much else I need to do. 7,000 down to 1,500 feet per minute. So you don't want to exceed 1,500 feet per minute below 2,000 feet below your target level. This is just due to traffic conflicts. You want to avoid them. As we're approaching 8,000, down to 1,000. Oh, looks like there's been a runway switch at Heathrow. What have they switched to? Oh no, it still says 27 right. Okay, 27 right is fine. I'll double check to my flight radar. The 27 right is still in use. Anyways, there's our first waypoint is up to 230. There's 100 pre-cruise checks. It's fine. Clear. Turn off our logo lights as well. Seatbelt signs off. Zoom out. For a quick overview of our departure, that's the route we took. Get rid of that. That's kind of, yeah, that's the route we took. Something like that. So we're approaching the southern way. Now we cannot exceed 230 below Pessit. Now, this doesn't leave us with very much at our top of climb. If I just head over to here, I'm going to set this over to the progress page. Looks like I've got a bit of noise on my throttle. So it looks like that doesn't actually tell me overall. Just making sure that 065 is set as my transition level going into Heathrow. So it looks like we'll pass an E-pod at 219. Again, similar principle applies here. Unless of course you're clear to a higher flight level. So it's just a lot of, well, now waiting. So I completely missed that. I was a bit sidetracked by the fact there's an A300 flying into London Heathrow today, and you don't really get to see the A300. We're going to be restricted for 3 minutes. And with, we'll say we're going to be clearance, proceed direct to Davos. Up to flight level 350. So now we're approaching a cruise altitude. We actually don't need to worry about the whole level off thing. The aircraft, because we're approaching a cruise altitude now, it's a bit different. Once we reach top of climb, since this is a short flight, we'll plan our descent into Heathrow. We'll ask the crew for a coffee. Oh, we've got some lightness coming in. It's so incredibly bright. And you'll be surprised, you actually do need, I suppose, sunglasses. That makes my life a lot easier. As you would do in the real aircraft, you would wear sunglasses, especially if it's really glary. Because if you've ever been on a flight deck, when it's cloudy, or you know, you've seen it is incredibly bright. Definitely a bit of graphical glitches there.
All ears.
Bring us some coffee, please.
I wish I could, but no.
Rude. Well, I don't want sunglasses anymore. Nothing really of note for the time being. Again, it's such a short route, this one. Like, I've done this route 8 times beforehand, and my longest was 1 hour 2. And that was a long time ago. That was because I held and did 2 trips of it. The first tutorial flight that I did, the one in the 321, I was only 53 minutes. Shortest I've done this route is in 48. Well, top of climb is said to be there, but at the minute it's putting us there. Anyways, because we're so short to our top of climb, we actually need to plan our top of descent. I'm going to switch the weather radar onto a more level. It's not that one. Yeah, there's our expected top of climb. We actually leveled off here. So a good question is, what determines your cruise altitude? And the answer is quite, well, I'd say it's a bit weird. So essentially, the best way to describe that one is, let's say you're doing a short haul flight. The lighter you are, the higher you can fly, but the shorter distance the lighter aircraft are more likely to do short routes. So if you're flying close to your service ceiling, it probably means you're incredibly lightly loaded. The only other time you'll see aircraft fly close to their service ceiling is wide body aircraft that are literally doing long routes. Where in that case it's more efficient for them to be at that altitude because they have to be. So this wrap flight level 350, well, it's trying to get there because it's most efficient. However, it's most tight. It's like, you know, we can actually go all the way up to 430 because we are that light, but we don't have the time to do it, and it's not efficient to either. We're also only cruising at 0.78, which is about the speed of an A320. On my most recent flight in this aircraft, which I landed literally this morning, I was going at 0.82. However, there were times when I was down at 6.9 and 7.4 and 6.9 because I was flying through. I had to navigate some storms. That was the longest flight I've ever done. Let me see if I can show you it actually. Let me see. Give me one moment. There we go. So if I go over to here now, have a look at this. 16 hours and 22 minutes. Multiple step climbs. This was not an auto step climb feature, by the way, so I had to wake up just beating them, falling asleep during the flight allegations. But it was around about here. I hit a patch of thunder. There was a lot of CBs around here, and I had to really kind of like fly around them. It doesn't look like there's too much going on, but I was just the path of least resistance before I eventually cleared myself back onto my route. And then so, it's normally a DME arc approach here. However, I just wanted to keep things a bit more realistic, get vectored in as I would in real life. So yeah. We need to plan our descent. So, in order to do that, first of all, we need to figure out our flight level, which is 350. We divide it by 10, 35. We're going to multiply that by 3. Then we're going to add our tailwind component, so which is 3. So minus. So that's how we get our top of descent ranging. So 35 times 3 equals 105. Add 3, which is 108. So if we go legs. 27 right, fix. Then we're going to put slash 108. That's our top of descent fix. Basically, that is a 3-degree glide path directly to the runway. That is our top of descent, and look at that, spot on. We'll then set a 10-mile range ring initially. We'll set 10 miles. In fact, yeah, we'll keep it to 10 and we'll do 6. I'm gonna go through this again because Heathrow's one of those airports where you've got to do 160 till 4. So once we're close to the airport, I'll change this from a 108 to a 4 and I'm prepping for my final approach. But that is our top of descent plans. Now, for our minimums, it is 278. Set on the side. There, I thought that was an 8. 278 set and cross-checked. Local QNH at the minute is the 1019er. So 1019er. And lastly, we'll do our landing performance, which we'll go off now. So 11.2, and we're expected to burn 9.1. So we're going to burn 2.1 tons of fuel. That will leave us with a landing weight of, well, we'll go 2.1 from 181. So that leaves us with a landing weight of 178.9. I could have just took away 2 from that. Heathrow, flaps 25. So that's the first thing I'm going to know. Is we're in Heathrow? Yes. So the flaps 25. Because you want to get off the runway as quick as possible. We'll keep now I normally plan auto brakes. You normally plan auto brakes 1. Heathrow, auto brakes 3. That's all you need to say. Heathrow is busy, so we want to get more auto brakes, but we do have stopping performance for auto brakes 1. Alright, I've gone for 3 because Heathrow. We'll reset this as well to sync up to 1013. If you want 2992, it's a bit more accurate. So going off our arrival, for the Zurich 1 hotel arrival, our first altitude restriction is flight level 140, which you can also see there because it's much larger. I'm going to set 140 in here now. And the aircraft the aircraft should descend on its own. I want to make sure that our transition level is set, which is 065. Technically it's 060, but 065 because you will be descending to 6,000 feet, not flight level 060, and there's a big difference. So again, it's just a lot of waiting now until we do reach our top of descent. Now, look at this, right? Look at that. So we've got a 70 knot crosswind, which explains why we're flying so wonky. So our heading is 087. Our track, however, is 095. And it's 10 miles out now, so we're just going to expect... The only downside is it's difficult to expedite. I'm going to expedite the descent just a bit earlier. Just tell the aircraft, hey, let's get down to speed nice and early. A 777 carries a lot of energy. So, so yeah, expect to use a lot of speed brake. We've got to look at that. We've already shot through our descent profile. However, this purple here is kind of like our speed path. So as long as it's within this magenta, we're okay. The aircraft will just pitch for speed. Well, just pitch down until it gets back on profile, as long as it doesn't go out this magenta, which is a really unique quirk. Now, I'm losing a lot of frames here. I'm not sure what's going on. Down to Civic. So it looks like we're actually maintaining the profile really good, which, well, we'll see when we get closer to 10,000 feet, but this is kind of how you have to sometimes help the airplane. So the autopilot can only do so much, but it can only do what the airplane is capable of, if that makes sense. So if you try and force the airplane to do something that it just doesn't have the capacity to do, it's not going to do it. It just will not do it. So this works for all aircraft, it's not just this one. It's like if you decide to go vertical speed, your plane, this is the only thing, so this is VNAV. VNAV will just try and keep the aircraft on profile. We'll prioritize flight profile then to speed. Now if you want to take the aircraft out of profile mode, God, my Brummy accent came out there. You want to take it out of profile mode and put it into vertical speed. Guess what's going to happen? If your vertical speed is too high, it's going to run away because the aircraft is only going to focus on vertical speed. Whereas flight level change will completely idle your thrust and it will not care about your profile. It will just care about getting you to your altitude with your current speed. Now, I'm gonna be a bit cheeky here and see if I can drop my speed to around about 250 knots nice and early. Why? Because Heathrow. So now we're high. How do we go about this? Speed brake. So I'll go about 75% on the speed brake. That's about 50. I'll just go up to about 75. The reason being is full speed brake is just a bit aggressive. But the reason why I'm also requesting 250 just a smidge earlier is because the 777 again carries a lot of energy, carries a lot of kinetic energy. This means that it's just a bit more difficult to slow down. So what it's actually doing is it's pitching down first to get onto a 250, well, to get onto a profile which will allow the aircraft to slow down to 250 knots. Anyway, since we're back on profile, roughly, I'm going to now store my speed brakes. See how the aircraft reacts. It's going to pitch down. Has there been a runway change at Heathrow? There has, it switched over to 27 left. No changes. Good transition. Legs, make sure that nothing is changing. We have a lateral discontinuity. Let's see one. There we go. Okay. There's our discontinuity sorted. So again, that's the thing about Heathrow, is they like to do a change on the runways. Now we switched over. It's 3 o'clock, that makes a lot of sense. They switched the runways around at 3. So we now need new ILS numbers as well. Which is 277. 277 set and cross-checked. The aircraft only cares about getting to Zurich first and foremost. Um, 5 miles, we're going to make that restriction. The aircraft will not descend below it. 7,000. We're getting some ILS data for some reason. Oh, I need to do my fixes as well, actually. This is the one thing, you need to do all of this again. However, I'm going to switch this over to 10, 6 and 4 now. So 10, 12% at 10 miles, you want to be at 180 knots. And you want to be slowing down to 160. By 6, you want to be at 160, gear down, flaps, gear down, flaps 20. I usually go flaps full, well, full config. And 6 at 4, you want to be essentially final approach speed by 4 knots. So this is your approach speeds now. So it's again energy management. And 777 in a 7.3, you can approach the ILS at 200 knots with flaps 5. You'll be fine. You cannot do that in a triple. You just simply do not have. You have too much energy to do that. So we're doing quite well with our energy at the minute. We're descending at a very very nice rate. It looks like we'll be down on the ground in roughly 16 minutes. So, do 15 minutes to landing. Cabin crew to prepare this massive aircraft for landing. We'll give them a call as well.
At your service.
Prepare cabin. We are landing soon.
Fine.
Right now at 250, speed isn't an issue. When speed's not an issue, you can make a nice gradual approach like this. This is why it's always good to be ahead of the aircraft. We're approaching, well, we're at a nice speed actually. The aircraft's going to slow down. So essentially it's a lot of energy, man. But when your energy management is good, you're alright. We can enter the hold with flaps up, so you want to keep, again, you don't want to really kill your flaps unless one of two things happens. Your speed is massively bleeding away, or you just need to get to a safer speed. 220 is well above our up speed. We're not high, so we don't need a lot of drag. We're coming in nice and slow. To be honest with you, we're doing quite well with energy wise, so what we can do, I have to worry about our energy. If that makes sense. So we don't need to worry about our flaps. The aircraft is descending at such a stable rate that we don't need to worry about speed or anything until it tells us to. This is when you really use feet nav to your advantage. I'm just gonna dip the radar down to about -5. There we go. So look, as you can tell there, as you can see, that's our entry. Now normally, if it's really busy, you'd fly this hold many times. I'm only going to do the entry, and then I'll probably break off around about here, just before Rockham. And use, even though we've got that, I'm actually going to use vectors, as you would in real life. Our approach speed is 138 knots as well.
Descent checklist.
With all. Check.
Checked.
Checked.
Notes. Check.
Checked.
Auto brake.
3. Set and cross-checked.
Set.
Landing
Set and
data.
checked. VREF is 277 set and cross-check. No, minimum is 277 set and cross-checked. VREF is 133 plus 5.
Set.
Approach briefing. Completed.
Completed.
Checklist complete.
Let's do our approach check until we are below 160. Okay, we're gonna struggle. Looks like we're struggling with speed here. Add some speed brakes just to help it. If your aircraft is struggling, you add some speed brake. Might go a bit more aggressively. This is a testament to how light we are, the fact we can even do this at flaps up. There we go. I'm gonna go to manage speed now. I'm basically gonna dictate. Well, so, yeah, I'm gonna dictate the speed now, and so the aircraft doesn't try to do a nasty decel on me when I don't want it to. Reciprocal heading is 148. We'll set this to 328. Okay. It's now inbound to Ockham. I'm gonna use some self-vectoring now. Let's see what maneuver we've kind of done. So that's the kind of maneuver that we've done. I'm gonna use self-vectoring to get myself down to Heathrow now. So I'm just doing some nice self-vectoring. So you could fly the approach path. But it's purely like obviously with air traffic control you would actually get vectors. Without radio comms you would do the full procedure. In real life you would get vectored, and I'm trying to simulate real life as well as I can. Pretend we're inbound to this one for the time being. This isn't an Airbus though, so we don't have to worry about like the aircraft going back into what's it called? LNAV again. Nav mode, sorry. I set 6,000 right and turn to 075. Down 6,000 feet, 700 feet per minute, and we'll now add landing lights since we're going to go down below the transition flight level. QNH 1019 set and cross-checked. To 3,500 feet. 200. So we're dropping below this speed brakes on, and flaps 1. What I'm trying to do here is what's called a CDA. What's called a continuous descent approach. So I'm not constantly stopping at altitudes, which then spools up your engines, which creates more noise. We want to avoid that. Seems like my aircraft is struggling to bleed off speed, so we're going to go flaps 5. Should create some drag. There we go. Sometimes you just have to fight the aircraft. Zero 10. And We'll keep 3,500 feet just for the time being. Speed 180. Left 310, cleared to join the localizer. Bit low. Well, cleared ILS because we're cleared now. 10 of my turn-offs. Approach checklist.
Approach checklist.
Altimeters.
Set.
Checklist complete.
Because we've already checked them. We won't touch this again. Still a bit low, but 180 is fine. And then once we capture the glide path, we'll maintain 180 till 10. Here we go. Capture the localizer. I'm gonna go flaps 15 now. This is for energy reasons. Still a bit high above the glide path, but we'll make it. We'll capture it because we're going just above the glide slope. Well, glide slope is 700 feet per minute. We're going at 1,000. So we're catching up to it by 300 feet per minute. It's 2,500. Just to help the aircraft. I'm gonna go flitch as well. Just to help the aircraft, I'm gonna arm my approach. So flitch just allows me right, we're descending well above the glide path. We've exceeded it. That's okay. If we want a bit more drag, I'm going to add some speed brakes. So our gear's still up, we're okay. Minimums is... We're okay as long as we're above the minimums. Down to 2,000, keep it descending. The aircraft is struggling. Struggling to make the glide path. If you're struggling like this, you just keep willing the aircraft down. Alright, I'm gonna have to slow my speed brakes, gear down. Flaps 25. The aircraft should capture the glide path now. There you go.
Caution, terrain. Caution, terrain.
That's fine.
Caution, terrain. Caution, terrain.
2,000 go around. Speed brakes armed. Checklist.
Before landing checklist. Please.
Speed brakes armed. Landing gears
Checklist
down.
complete.
Flaps 25 set. Cross checked. We are losing speed. We'll make it back up. That's like logo like. Come on. Final approach speed is 133 plus 5. Speed of 138. 5 or 6 miles. 4 miles to go. 38 set in our speed. We got there in the end. So there's a few things that again you can kind of take from this. If in doubt, gear is always the best way to get your nose down. If you've got a speed restriction, it might be a bit more difficult. However, if your speed is really just not working with you today,
1,000.
Approaching 27 left.
the aircraft doesn't want to follow the glide path as efficiently as I want it to, so I'm just going to disconnect the autopilot. It's my airplane now. I double tapped it so I didn't hear a siren, but that's fine. The auto throttle will manage itself. Just going to try and keep the nose on the flight directors. So when you push the nose down, you want to trim down. When you pull the nose up, you want to trim nose up. Theoretically, you could use your trim to just manage your descent profile.
500. 400.
I mean, it's
300.
alright.
Approaching minimums.
But still stable, that's what matters. As long as we don't drop below
200.
1,000 feet per minute. Oh,
Minimums.
bit of gusts from the nearby terrain. And nose down.
100. 50. 40. 30. 20. 10.
Nice gentle on the flare. There we go. Aircraft is on the ground. That's what matters. Reverses. Full reversed for brake cooling. Can't make this exit, we'll make the next one. Cancel reverses, cancel auto brakes. Let's keep the aircraft moving. Last thing you want to do in Heathrow is hold up traffic. You can cause a go around. Okay, now we're clear of runways. We can turn off our oh, I missed that turn there. It's fine. I want to get my transponder. My lights, turn offs. I'll keep our turn offs on. Strobes off. We'll take stand 553. APU on. Directors off. We'll disarm our auto throttle as well. So it's right onto Charlie, which is this right here, and then it's the third stand on our right. P generator on. Want to keep our speed below 15 knots. Turn off our turn-offs and our taxi lights as well because we're approaching the stand. There we go, just turn into it nice and easy. I use external cam, a bit aggressive on the coming in, but there we are, on the chocks, engines off. Reset trim to 4 units. There we go. Contact the ground crew as well. Beacon light off. Seatbelt signs off. Hydraulics.
Good day. How do you hear?
Good to hear you, sir. The ground personnel is at your service.
We've got engines off. Shocks.
We require some equipment.
GPU.
Make your choice.
Shots.
Roger
Engines.
that. Anything else? Any other requests?
Contacts the flight cabin crew.
All ears.
All doors to manual mode.
Disarmed and cross-checked.
I guarantee they've not gave us GPU yet. It's gonna take some time while that does that. I'll do my
Shutdown checklist.
Parking brake.
Set.
Weather radar. Off.
Off.
Checklist complete.
surely one of them's got to work. There we go.
Listening?
APU off. That's our shutdown checklist done. The aircraft is ready to turn around. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to London Heathrow. Local time is 3:37. That's all from me in the flight deck. Do hope to see you again soon. Oh, that looks neat. It looks like they're almost in the jet bridge. So yeah, that's all from me. Hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I hope to see you guys on the next one.